Well, I'm going to keep this in now, but how long have you been growing your beard now?
The beard, it's kind
Mm.
of like I basically like trim it. Sometimes I fully shave it. It grows back.
Mhm.
I mean, very difficult to say. I've had like a very short beard in like 2015, and then I kind of like
Okay.
grew it, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. If
Mhm.
only I could like trim it a little bit, it would look even better. So I was just like, I don't want to like shave every day because that like irritates my skin.
Mhm.
I thought to myself, if I could just like do like the, around the edges and just keep it that way. I've been doing that like basically, I think it takes me like a month to grow this, but I've had this forever now, like for the past like maybe
S
7 years, I think.
so it's only a month for you to grow from clean shave to we are now.
I might be exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it's like if I fully shave it, it's gonna be back to maybe not this level, but very close to this. In about I would say maybe like 5 weeks, probably something like that.
Okay, so it grows. It also grows
And
very
that's why
very
I'm making
fast.
the
So,
mistake of shaving because I know like, oh, in a week there's gonna be some like, some of the beers
mm.
gonna be back. So like I feel like I can just make a mistake, which is terrible, right?
Mhm.
And it usually happens if I'm trimming and then I make a mistake because I'm not a barber. It's like for me, it's like it's very easy to just like miss something and then boom, there's like a patch here that is gone. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Forget it. Just shave the whole thing and
Okay.
then wait for like a week to get it back. And yeah. So it's just like maintaining it basically.
Okay.
So
Okay. Let's get away from the beard and let's talk about how I discovered you, why I discovered you.
sure.
You said in your bio, in your the the bio of your Instagram, especially there where I noticed you, is that you help build businesses with the help of AI.
Right.
Please tell me about that. How did you get
Sure.
into that? How did you start with that?
Yeah.
Before we go into the details.
Okay. So just a bit of a backstory before I dive into that because it's important to know like why I started Prodamera before I actually tell you what Prodamera is.
Mm,
Because obviously everybody's talking about AI. Um, I'll talk about AI specifically in a bit, but basically, I started off in sales in 2014. I was 18 years old. I watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street and got this placebo effect that I can sell, even though I could not sell. So I was like, wow, I have to learn sales. So I watched the movie, and in the movie, talks about the straight line system.
mhm,
So I went through that, the straight line system, and up until like module 4, I thought it's just a bunch of bullshit. Like it was just like general stuff. That's what I thought. And I kind of felt like this is not gonna like he's just like talking about like basic stuff. I'm not gonna learn anything. Module 4, he started talking about tonalities, essentially influencing the sale by using the proper tonalities during the sale. Like for example, if you start the convo, getting optimistic, once you start getting to the deal, you lower the voice and you say, now, the reason for the call, John, because you lower the voice and then the person automatically, perks up to listen to hear what you're saying,
mhm,
right? So at that module, I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is like, all right, let's see if it's working, right? So I basically go through the whole 10 modules, I believe it was. And I get this placebo effect. So I basically start applying for sales jobs, even though I had no place at the time. And thankfully, one guy was like, "Oh, okay, you're doing sales." This guy in Michigan, he was like, "Okay, yeah, 18 years old." He's like, I sent over like a voice recording. I was like, I'm just gonna like record the voice, and hopefully they're gonna like me saying stuff and put me on the phone, right?
mhm,
So this guy hires me after like months of nothing, crickets. This one guy hires me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." And there was no training. He was just like his policy was like, to be fair, really good, but he said just jump on the call and answer the questions. And it was like, I don't know what questions you're talking about, dude. Like, what are you talking about, right? So I got on the call and I got to have to like improvise and,
mhm,
figure it out. And I started learning how to sell, right? And over the next like 6 months, I did really well. Like gradually got better and better over time. And in 2015, so like basically that's early 2015, I kind of thought to myself, okay, I should probably like switch jobs to like improve my, earnings and get a better deal, maybe
mhm,
get some bonuses, stuff like that. Look, like just basically look for a better opportunity, even though this company was really good as well. So for the first time, I landed a job in sales and marketing. So this was a position that basically was it was you're going to be selling, but you're also going to be doing marketing, right?
Mhm.
So, and I was like, marketing? I don't like what is marketing? Like sales marketing? I don't know what the difference is. Whatever. I'm just selling, right? But at that point, it slowly sort of morphed into me writing copy via emails because we have these campaigns. So I started writing emails and during promotions, sales, and stuff like that. So what ended up happening is I realized that if I send one email to 2,000 people, I can reach them immediately and
Mhm.
automatically sell, as opposed to getting on a call with somebody and selling them on the phone, right? And because it was a bonus type of situation, you have to sell the most. It was basically like, if you're the top earner, you get paid more, right?
Mhm.
So we had like a top tier, top earners list, how much you sold each month. Every single month it gets reset. And the first time that I joined, I sold the most. And then
Mhm.
for the next 40 months, I just kept selling. Every month I was number one. And every single month, I remember like maybe like a year in, I started really thinking about it. I was like, it's been like a full year. I'm number one on the list. What if this is the month that I'm not number one anymore? Like, what is that going to do? Even though it would not do anything really, because the bonuses were not that significant, right? But in my book, it was like it's a competition. There's a leaderboard, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I started selling, and then basically worked my way up to becoming the head of sales and marketing. So instead of just doing like being a sales rep, doing some marketing, it turned into head of sales and marketing. And I've stayed in that job for quite a while. And over that time period, I basically enrolled into a college to get a marketing degree because I started doing marketing. So um, basically, I was doing that job the whole time I was in college. And once I graduated, a bachelor's degree in marketing, I basically got a job as a director of marketing for an agency in Minnesota.
Mhm.
And this company was basically, they were doing like, web design, development, stuff like that, and some social media stuff as well. And they were looking for a marketing director. And then I realized when I applied and I got the job, I was actually like super surprised. I was like, because this is like a legit operation with like, over 100 people. And I was like, wait, so I just got this right now. And I kind of realized that the gap that I took, I spent like 3.5 years in a great job, working for a great company. But at the same time, I was definitely ready much sooner to make the jump and get a much better position, right? So I spent, and I've never made that mistake again. So in 2019, so fast forward, after graduating, I basically stayed in that job for 6 months as a marketing director. And I kind of thought to myself, okay, so if this company's paying me to offer services to their clients, doesn't that kind of mean that I can actually do this myself working with a specific client in marketing?
Mhm.
So I thought to myself, hey, I'm a copywriter. I can write copy, even though initially when I first started, I didn't know it was called copywriting, right? I was just writing emails. But then all these courses started popping up and being like, become a copywriter, make like six figures. And I was like, what is copywriting? And then I
Mhm.
realized, oh, but that's what I do right now. It's just that I have a job instead of like doing this as a business.
Mhm.
So in 2019, I landed my first client for copywriting. And about a year in, so first of all, after 6 months, I leave the marketing agency. Great time, learned a lot, but it was kind of like I need to like build a business, right?
Mhm.
So I basically got my first client, and in about a year, he started calling me CMO, like, oh, you're kind of like our CMO, right? And I noticed that the copywriting business was kind of like here and there, meaning like, yeah, I was making money, it was pretty good, but it wasn't like there was not a lot of retainers that were just like predictable revenue each month. So it's kind of like,
Mhm.
yeah, I got two clients and I have like a couple of projects here and there, but I want to like grow this, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I have to like do these projects, right? To the point where like some bigger companies were actually offering me copywriting jobs, like projects, and I thought to myself, I'm not doing that because it's a project, right? So when my client started calling me a CMO, I Googled it. What is a CMO? Okay, chief marketing officer. Fine. Okay, interesting. I thought marketing director was like the, you know, reporting to the CEO and stuff like that. But then I realized there's a thing called CMO. So I Googled it, and apparently there was sort of a growing trend of fractional CMOs, meaning somebody who is a chief marketing officer, but you don't work full time for a company. You basically have like 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10 clients, depending on how many hours you work. And you offer your services as kind of a consultant, but you're in the company. So you manage the team as well.
Mhm.
And basically that kind of fully unlocked my my business potential, because at that point it was super easy just to like land clients to pay like 5-10 grand a month. And you basically work part-time, like 5-10 hours a week, and you offer your services, you help them. They don't like have to hire somebody full-time, so they're benefiting, you help the company grow. And this sort of happened because during the copywriting stage, the biggest problem for me was not even like the revenue part, because I was kind of like not even noticing, what my financial goals were, because I was living comfortably. But I thought every time that I write copy, people give me like a sort of a template of, here's a strategy, here's what you do. You write the copy, in this specific field, and here's like the outline of the page. You write the copy, basically fill in the blanks. And
Mm.
I really got frustrated with that, because a lot of these guys were not marketers. So a lot of these guys were like either tech founders, or developers, maybe experts in their field, but not in marketing. And when I started seeing that, they're the ones like basically winging it. Oh, I have an idea, right? Here's an idea. Let's do this. And hey, you're a copywriter, write the copy.
Mhm.
And that's ridiculous, because that's not how it works. You have to have a strategy, and copy is not good if nobody's going to see it, right? So you have to make sure you can get the traffic, and you can get targeted traffic, and there has to be a full funnel that is developed, right? Now, I'm not sure if your audience is already like familiar with how marketing works, but you can tell me, and I can sort of adjust my level of
Please
explaining.
continue as you are now. Please
Okay,
just continue. It's
fine. Okay,
interesting.
that's
Yeah.
perfect. So basically, I realized I'm actually in charge of strategy. I cannot just write the copy. I have to
Mhm.
like run the strategy. And that's when one of my clients started saying, "Oh, you're like the CMO, right?" So I started Googling it, and then boom, everybody needs a CMO. And it was kind of like this aha moment for me, where literally in 1 month, it was like, again, stagnating. And I was like, what should I do next? Like, should I like build a product, a copywriting course, like make YouTube videos? What should I do? Right? Stagnating, and all the time. But I kind of knew if I just get 2 people on board, right? That's instantaneously additional 6 figures in income. And I'm sort of like doing part-time, but it had to be on my terms, not like
Mhm.
here's work hours. It can't be that, right? Because at that point, just an employee, right? And I had friends who started their own copywriting businesses, and even like fractional CMO businesses, but because they were not confident about their service, they basically got disrespected. Where I knew a guy who basically was selling his service for like 3 grand a month, and they're worth 3 grand a month. He's really good at what he does, right? But then this guy kind of senses, oh wait, I can like nickel and dime this guy, right? So he says,
Yeah.
what about 1,500? And then the stupidest thing he did, and I was so pissed off when I heard this on the call, because we were like talking, and he said, I said yes, and I'm like, that's over. Just drop the client, get a new client. Forget about it. Just forget about it. You can't drop the price by half and still expect to think that the other guy thinks you're the expert, right? Because why would you drop your price to 1,500, right? Now, if your price was 1,500, that's fine. But you just basically gave the guy a 50% discount on your time. And then what started happening is he basically had no work hours, but he had to work all day because he was treated as an employee. So I really like worked really hard in my practice to set boundaries where everybody benefits, but there's no sort of understanding that this is the only thing that I'm going to do, right?
Mhm.
Which tends to happen with most companies. Now, in that month of maybe like 45 days in total, it just started happening like a wave. And in business, the biggest thing I can tell the business owners is you're going to have a thing called momentum. And once you feel the momentum, you cannot stop, right? Once you see the number of listeners rising, once you see the customers coming in, there's no downtime. You can't be like, oh, okay, this went well. I'll come back in like 3 months because I got to service the clients here. I got to provide a top-notch service or a product, right? You can't do that. Once you start growing, it comes as a wave, right? So basically, it's crickets. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then basically, at one point, you figure it out. You realize what actually works to get these clients or get these customers. You realize what it takes for your strategy to work because you've tested it. Once that happens, you have to keep going. So I was like, okay, this is the wave. I have to ride the wave. So entire 2021, I was just like riding the wave. And I was just like clients everywhere where it basically turned into like declining work, right? And in about a year from that, one of my clients, it went a step further, where they basically said, we want you to come full time, you'll get equity. And the company was worth a lot of money, and it still is. So the deal itself was kind of like, will you shut down your business and come here and be a CMO in-house, and you're going to make X millions of dollars? Like, we're aiming for this exit. This is your cut. This is your equity. You're expecting this amount of money. And it was like a significant amount of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make a decision. Okay, am I going to shut down my business and stop my plans and not do what I want to do, and join the company? Or am I going to walk away from this potentially huge payment like 3.5, 4 years from now and then be set? The problem is that for me, the job was never to be an employee, and the job was never to be sort of like having one income stream. I cannot have just one income stream, right? So I'm fully against that. I'm fully against you having like, people tell me like, they say stuff like, you should get a job because that's more stable. That's not stable. Okay. You can get fired. If you have a business, you got 5 clients and they're on retainers and you're delivering great work, that's stable. Okay. Moreover, it's easier to get clients because there's less bureaucracy. Because basically what you do is you talk to the CEO. So anytime a CEO sees me somewhere, like doing a presentation, something like that, it happens frequently where they offer the job, right? Because the CEO can make an instant decision, right? Which the HR department cannot do. So do you want to get a job and talk to people that don't even know anything about your field and wait for like 3, 4, 5 months? Some of these jobs, it takes a long time to get a job. To get a client, it doesn't take a long time. You have a good proposal, a good offer, and the right client, right timing, you're getting that client. So just the fact that you can, if you're like working full time in marketing, let's say you're a CMO. Well, if you're in New York City as a CMO, fine. Okay. You're probably making like $500,000 on average. All right. You get equity, good stuff, right? I get it. Anywhere else, okay, if you're a CMO and you're getting a job, that is probably not worth it for most people from a risk management position, right? So I'm not talking about like, should everybody start a business? No. From a risk perspective, it's very important to understand that if you have a job, you could get fired, the company could go under, the company can be sold, and you not getting the shares, you not getting that exit deal, right? So that can happen. But if you have a job, right, you're kind of like putting all your eggs into one basket, right? But when it comes to being a fractional CMO, a consultant, having retainers, what ends up happening is you can always get clients if you can sell, if you actually offer a good service and you talk to people, there's really no risk, right? Because yeah, it's easy to lose clients. People can leave. They're probably not going to leave, by the way. Like most clients, when they hire a fractional CMO, maybe it's just me, I don't know. Like I've heard from other people as well, fractional CMOs, once they hire you and you start delivering those results, like things will start compounding. Like if you join a company that is making like $4 million a year, right? And it doesn't matter if you're there for like 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. If you get that company from 4 mil to like 7 mil in a year, right? They've just made $3 million and maybe even more, because that's going to allow them to spend more money on ads. Like the opportunity cost of them not hiring you is so much greater. So people think of this as in like, oh, you can't make more money. Like how are you going to make more money if you spend less time? Because it's less time. But in reality, people care about the results. They don't care about the how much time you spend. They care about what they get for results. So if the company is at 4 mil, you get them to 7 mil, and they, let's say, paid you like 120 grand, like 10 grand a month, right? it doesn't matter. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many hours you worked. What matters is the end result. So just as, it's pretty easy to basically get clients if you have a good offer and you can sell it, you can communicate that benefit, and and you can basically just convince them to get it started. So what I tell my clients is, I'm not going to tell you what that we're going to get you to 7 mil from 4 mil without doing an audit. We can do an audit, and I'll tell you if it's even worth it to hire a CMO. Like most of my interactions with clients were, this is not a good fit. Not because I don't like you. You're a great guy. You run a great company. I like it. The problem is you're not going to get this money back, right? And that's not because I'm not good at what I do. It's because of your business model. So not everybody needs a CMO right now. Some people need to first get a baseline income and have a potential for growth, like potential for quick and sustainable growth. They can hire a fractional CMO, right? If you're a restaurant, you're not hiring a CMO, okay? Because the margins are so small and you have so many costs and it's very difficult to scale. So hiring a CMO is probably not going to be worth it for you, right? If you're for example, let's say a dentist, right? It makes sense potentially, depending on where you are and what the CMO would charge. But generally, these companies that hire a fractional CMO are software companies. And my favorite clients are software companies where the person in charge really knows their audience and really knows the product and cares about the product, right? So they care about the product, they build it, and somebody lied to them. They said, you build it and they will come, right? Somebody lied to them. And now they built the product and they're like, it's a great product, but how do I scale? Like, what am I going to do, right? And they're like, they have two options: either learn everything about marketing and then get started, or pay somebody to do it for them, because there's an opportunity cost again to doing it yourself. So if you want to do everything yourself, you're probably not going to be successful, right? You have to find a way to leverage other people's skills. And that's where I come in. I'm good at marketing. That's where I'm good at. If you are a software company, if you're a business owner, your job is to develop the product, right? And your job is to understand the audience and communicate with me how we can actually persuade the audience. But ultimately, it's going to be my job to make sure that everybody can understand our product and can understand the benefits of that product, right? So in short, I kind of went off on a tangent here, but what I wanted to say is, if you're a consultant or you're thinking about becoming a consultant and you're thinking that you want stability, getting a 9 to 5 is probably not as stable as you think, compared to just the combination of the higher income you're going to get as a consultant, as a C-suite consultant. Like basically, you can be a fractional CTO, so chief technology officer. I'm a fractional CMO, chief marketing officer. You can become a chief financial officer. My first interaction with somebody who's like fractional C-suite was a fractional CFO.
Mm.
And I saw that he's charging like $250 an hour. And I was like, interesting. So, but he only works like 5 hours a week for this company. That doesn't make any sense. But then, okay, he's fractional. So he's 5 hours a week for that company, right? So he's basically looking at $1,250 a week for one company. You get 4 clients, you're at $5,000 a week, meaning you're basically over 200 grand a year, right? So at that, well, you're basically a $250,000 at that point, right? So basically, the math there is kind of like simple. You have to like actually break it down, not like kind of wing it like I'm winging it, but like you look at the math and you realize, if you get a job, your hourly rate is going to be much lower. You're not going to be the expert, because if you're an expert, we wouldn't have like full control over you, right? If you're the expert, you're so in demand that everybody wants to work with you, right? And if everybody wants to work with you, why would you accept being paid by one company, right? It's not going to happen. Now, again, very different if you're like in the corporate world, if you're CMO of Coca-Cola, right? Very different, right? Because in Coca-Cola, there's a certain way things are done to get to that position. You have to follow a specific path and be good at what you do specifically in that corporate environment. Thankfully, my clients are software companies and they fully understand their businesses are agile, and what they can do basically is they could fail very quickly, like within a few months they can fail, but they can also grow extremely quickly. So my job is basically to explain to clients, we can grow super fast, not sustainable. We can grow fast, but sustainably, right? So that's what I do for my clients, is basically help software companies get more customers through marketing, through copywriting, through
And
strategy, through UX.
how do you determine the model on which you're going to determine? Because as you just said, it's fast growth but not sustainable, and it's less fast but it is sustainable. How do you determine how that model is going to work, especially in a
Sure.
specific company?
Sure. And so every specific company has to know their numbers. Okay. How big is the market? How much are you spending per click? What is the customer lifetime value? So, for example, you can literally have an extremely unprofitable business up front. You can be paying like $50 to get a customer and they pay you $0, right? Or like $1. You lose the money. But if you know they have a value ladder, meaning you can basically, in that specific industry, you can build a value ladder where they pay you $1, but because of psychological triggers, and I recommend book by Robert Cialdini, Influence. He talks about this. You have a rule of reciprocity where you've given something to them at a very low cost, or even for free. Maybe again, maybe it's $0. They get the thing for free. Now they're much more likely, like exponentially more likely, to basically go for the offer that is $10. Once they spend the $10, they will keep spending more and more and more. Not everybody, but we look at the numbers, right? So we look at their specific target audience, and we have to look, it's multifaceted, right? It has to do with, okay, so what is the target market? How big is it? What are competitors doing, right? If we have competitors that are really good on Google, like number one, number two for like high search volume keywords, and you're coming in saying, hey man, I want to grow my business. I'm going to run ads to get money from these guys. But the problem is these guys are more expensive than you and they get traffic for free. The problem here is that the person is going to think, well, they're more expensive, therefore my offer is better. No, they're more expensive, therefore they can actually spend more money on ads and get that traffic to convert and still make a profit. So the number one rule in marketing is if somebody can outspend you, they've won. So if I'm able to spend more money than you on ads profitably, then I've won, right? And this is why the value ladder is so important, because if you have an offer, let's say, give me an example of a business you thought about starting. Let's do it like on the spot.
Okay, let's start an accounting business. You have to acquire clients. You have to get.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect example. Accounting business. Okay, so you have an accounting business, right? And let's say that are you like you're offering like tax returns and stuff like that, right?
Let's do tax returns, financial statements, that kind of things.
Okay, so let's say you have a couple of options here, right? Let's say you have your services are like $700 a month. Okay, it usually depends on like what the revenue of the business, but let's say 700, right? That's like, let's say 700, right? Just for the sake of simplicity, right? On average, generally, it's $700 a month. Now, what's going to happen if you sell that? And I've seen this like agencies, number one. The first thing an agency, not all of them, there are some really good ones, but mostly they're going to tell you, let's create a free consultation page. And you're going to drive traffic to this free consultation page, and it's free. It's a lead magnet. You know, lead magnet is the free offer people get, and they give you their contact info in return. So, what do they get for this offer? Oh, they get on a call with you. But everybody knows the free consultation is a sales call. So now you have a situation where way less people are actually going to get on the call. It's free, okay. But number one, you're wasting your time because a lot of people that are not quality leads will book that free consultation. And number two, not enough people that are actually qualified will book it because they will perceive it as, okay, it's just a sales call. Like what I'm looking for is a specific problem that is really quick. How can I get it without you bothering me on a call? So nobody wants to walk into a sales pitch, right? So, but here's what happened. So you spent, let's say $10 a click, right? And you got 100 people to come to the website. And let's say you had like 2 booked calls, right? And none of them bought, right? So now you have a situation where the conversion rate to book a call is 2%. And the problem is that you only closed you closed 0 people, right? But it's 2%. Remember that number, 2%. Why? Because the other people, the 98%, did not see the offer that appeals to them. So they did not want to get on a free call. So what are they going to do? They leave, right? So if they just left, you lost the customer, right? So why wouldn't you own the customer's data by placing an offer that is so general, but so specific to them, to that overlap between your customer prototype. So maybe you're going to say, I specialize in tax returns, and you will find specific topics that business owners that specialize, that, you know, they're looking for those services are looking for. So let's say you have a situation where you want to move to Puerto Rico, right? I assume that's a job for like a tax lawyer, tax attorney, but or a consultant. But let's say you're an accountant that helps them do accounting for that, just like simplicity, right? So let's say you want to move to Puerto Rico, and there's some sort of a keyword that's in Google that a lot of people are searching for. Let's say it's the law. We're gonna like think of a law. It's law 11421, right? And everybody's searching for that, right? Because they want to find info about that law, because everybody who wants to move to Puerto Rico looks that up. And this is just, again, like it's a hypothetical case, right? But let's say that keyword is basically talking about the law, right? They want to find info about the law about moving to Puerto Rico, right? So what happens now? They can book a call with you for free. They're not. Or you can have a PDF that explains the whole thing on one page, right? And you tell them, here's a one-pager cheat sheet to understanding what are the implications of this new law and what are the accounting practices you have to follow so that you're on the safe side and you're not breaking any laws. Now, do you think, what is the business owner more likely to do in this specific case? Provide their email at prodamira.com, get the PDF and see what it's about. Let me just scan it real quick. Or commit to a free consultation that is probably just going to be a sales call, right? We know the answer. So what happened is you lost 98% of the people and you don't have that contact information for them. And the reason why I say it doesn't matter how many you close 0, but I don't care about how many you closed. I care about what contact info do you have? How many people gave you their email address or their phone number, right? You have to own customer data, right? Because people don't buy immediately. They're going to buy eventually. So having an email list, for example, is extremely powerful, okay? And that's why writing emails for me was extremely lucrative, because once you have an email list and you start writing to that list, it's extremely surprising how quickly sales come in once you have a targeted email list, okay? So I tell people, and by the way, I want to make this clear. This example is a hypothetical example, okay? There are certain companies that cannot follow that example. So everybody's scenario is going to be different. There are people who should not be running ads, okay? So if it's $10 a click and you do the math and it works out, great, you can do it. The problem is there are companies that want to do ads, but they have no business doing ads, okay? The cost per click versus the conversion of the website. So you have a landing page, right, where people buy a product, right? And let's say you need a specific conversion rate to be profitable. Now, once you do the math, if you're spending $10 a click, blah, 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 you do the math and you realize that in order to be profitable, you have to get like a 60% conversion rate on your landing page. Here's some news for you. You're never going to have 60% conversion on your landing page. It's never going to happen. So that tells me that your approach is immediately doomed. Don't even try it. Find a different approach. So I'm not just here to like help people grow their business. I'm here to tell people, don't waste your time with certain strategies and tactics that are not going to work for you. They might work in general, but maybe they're not a right fit for your specific business, right? And a lot of business owners want to spread out. They say like, oh, I want to run Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, Google ads. Let's do SEO as well. And it's just not a good practice. If you're still growing, if you have less than like 7 million ARR, like a 7-figure ARR, like the run rate annually is less than $1 million bucks a year. In that case, you have no business experimenting with like 12 different channels. So I basically tell people, you have to look at your customer prototype. You can't just do guesswork. My job is not to know what to write. My job is to find out how we get to knowing what to write. In an example, if we were like building a landing page for this accounting firm, I'm not going to be like, hey, I write good copy, I'm creative, let me write it for you, right? That doesn't work because nobody cares if you're creative, right? What matters is, does the customer resonate with this message? So what I do is, let's say the accounting firm is in Boston, right? So this Boston accounting firm, we're going to find their target audience and we're going to find out where they shop, what kind of other products they buy. And we're going to look at our competitors and look at their customer testimonials. Why? because we can actually compile this data into a spreadsheet, and basically analyze the testimonials. And what are we going to find out? We're going to find out two things: frequent terms and language patterns. What that means is, frequent terms is, what are people talking about? Like, let me get an example. Let's say your customer in Boston, your customer prototype has a tendency to say confidence. You look at the testimonials and says, I felt confident knowing that my business and my finances are in John's hand or in Michael's hand. I felt confident recommending this to my business partner. Their customer support team gave me confidence. If you see the frequent term being repeated constantly, that means the customer cares about that word. So what does that mean? That word needs to be used in the copy because that's what the customer cares about. So it's not about, like, I've seen people that run businesses and they're like, oh, I'm funny. I want to write funny stories. I'm a marketer. First of all, statistically speaking, if you're listening to this, you're probably not funny. Okay. Most people are not funny. If you're not Ryan Reynolds, you should not be trying to be funny in your marketing. Okay. You have to do research and treat marketing as a science that it is. Okay. So Ryan Reynolds, he can be funny. Okay. He gets to be funny. He's a funny individual. Okay. If your name is not Ryan Reynolds, okay, you don't get to be funny. So what you would see basically in these situations is some dude writing stuff that is funny to him. And he basically posts that. He's like, oh, it's crickets. Nobody's buying. Yeah, first of all, it's not supposed to be funny, number one. Number two, it's not funny. So what you have to understand is, what is the goal of this website? What is the goal of this campaign? If you're doing mass market, if it's just brand awareness, you can be completely just funny, right? Funny people, remember this specific campaign. But when you have a ROI driven campaign that is basically suggesting that you have to make money on the back end, then you have to figure out, what do I need to explain to the user? Because my product is good, the user needs it. How can I bridge the gap between the anxiety the customer has over giving their money away? So we need to remove anxiety. We have to demonstrate a unique selling proposition that makes it super clear. It's a no-brainer to get this. And then we basically reduce friction by providing a guarantee, maybe giving a discount here and there. Again, it depends on if it's a consulting service or if you're doing like a product. It's different discounts in marketing and in sales, right? But this strategy needs to be reverse engineered. You can't just build a website, build a page. And I mean, you see people that like write copy like that and they think like, oh, I'm creative, it's cool, it looks good. And then they just make like mistakes that are like violating best practices. Like they put like a passive voice in the headline, and they, like it's just like, and that might work very rarely in a very specific scenario that only a trained copywriter can recognize. But if you're a business owner and you're making like, you're violating best practices, your best bet is to hire somebody to do it for you, right? So basically, the way I see it is, every business has to have a tailored strategy. There's no like custom. There's no like I'm going to give you like a general strategy, but it's also custom. No, it needs to be a custom strategy that looks at your customer prototype, that looks at your offer, your competitors, and the timing, because timing is extremely important. Business owners don't want to say this, but a lot of people that got to like a specific income and succeeded in a specific business, and their business has been growing and profitable, they just say, oh, I'm a genius, I'm super smart. That's what they say. But in reality, there's a lot of timing, a lot of luck. So you have to recognize, and by the way, if you try a lot, eventually you'll get some luck, right? So you have to try, you have to really put in the work, and then you'll get some luck along the way, right? But to suggest,
but the luck is because of the work you've already done. It's not something that just falls out of the air. It's because of work you have done.
Yeah.
Then it meets right people. It's not. Yeah. Just define that one for us, please.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I talked about momentum, right? Once you have that momentum, you can have like a $0 business, right? And then boom, things start happening. You close 2-3 clients, right? Things are going really well. You can decide. So you can decide if you want to be prepared when the luck comes or not be prepared. Because if you're not prepared, you don't even know what luck is. So you can have a situation where you got extremely lucky, right? And you have this opportunity to do something, but you cannot recognize the potential of that opportunity because you were not preparing, okay? Your sword, the blade, it's not functional. You should have spent time, okay, basically making sure you're ready for war, basically, like in metaphoric terms, right? So you have to make sure that at some point, couple of things. You prepare for that big opportunity, for that big momentum. You have to prepare every day for that opportunity. And then also you have to not care that it hasn't come yet. And then you have to keep putting in the work to find where those opportunities are, right? One day you'll be faced with a great opportunity, and two things will happen if you have not prepared. Number one, you cannot recognize the opportunity, or number two, you do recognize the opportunity, so you're like okay-ish, so you take the opportunity and you suck. And because you suck, you lose your reputation. People be like, who is this scrub? Why are you even like, who are you? Like, get out of here, right? I'm not paying you. So now the opportunity is gone and you're worse than zero. It's not a $0 business. Now it's a negative business because you lost money. Because people have said that your services are not that good because you were not preparing. Okay. So luck exists, but you have to put in the work. Okay. In order for this to be sustainable. And also, we're looking at long periods of time. If you're a business owner, you know that you're going to be in the trenches for years. Okay. So you've got people that are like working on a business for like 4 or 5 years and nobody knows about them. Right. And then the business is not doing well. Right. And then boom, one thing happens. They get some traffic. People start using it, referring other people. Boom. You got a growing business and people say it was overnight. It was easy. Right. But it's not. But you have to keep going. Right. So it's terrible to rely on luck. But if you actually put in the work, you don't have to rely on luck. Luck will find you because you'll be exposed to so many other opportunities. That's why I tell people we're not traveling. People tell me like, oh yeah, because I travel a lot. And people tell me, oh, you can't really, it's not like the lifestyle is not that good because, you don't have a base. You're not like, listen, if you're traveling, you meet all kinds of people. There are rooms that I would not be in if I just was like static in one country, right? So the biggest thing you can do is connect with other people and not like ask things from them, just like work with them, collaborate, see if there's something you can do together and get to know the people that you're working with. Naturally, things happen. Naturally, people are like, yo, I got an idea. Let's do this, right? So, yes. So first of all, you have some luck if you're in business. And to be fair, if you have internet connection and you speak English, immediately you've got some level of luck because people don't understand that. And Sam Harris talks about this, the neuroscientist. He talks about the lack of free will in real terms. And it's very controversial. But he says, like, life happens to people from a young age. Things influence you, and you have these thoughts that come to you directly. So when I say, what is the best city to live in the world? You can answer that like right now, and you can tell me Tokyo. But you don't know why you're saying it. And if you do know why you're saying it, it's specific to you, meaning it's random. Maybe you grew up and you were watching Pokemon or something, and you love Japan. I don't know. But it's luck. It's an accident. You did not choose to have that specific thought enter your mind at that time. So there's a lot of luck. And the best thing you can do is not look at other people and how lucky they are. First of all, if you're listening to this and you can understand what I'm saying, immediately you're lucky, okay? Because you're in a much better position than most people. You have access to basically the wealthiest segment of the population in the entire world, and you can build a product, you can build services and offer those services to these people, right? So you're very lucky to get out, and you have internet connection, like you're very lucky, right? So you have to understand that if you're going to compare yourself to the guy on Instagram who's in a Ferrari, first of all, you don't know if that Ferrari is his Ferrari. It's probably not, okay? But secondly, it doesn't matter because he has his own timeline, okay? You have to look at your specific situation because you cannot compete with somebody if they get a head start. If you're thinking you're like 23, 24, and you're like, I see these people making money and they're like doing drop shipping, but you're in medical school. Well, listen, bro, you're not supposed to like compete with the drop shipping guy. You have to wait and get the education. And then at 32, 33, now you're making the money, right? And you can start all kinds of, you're playing the long game. So you've decided to go for something. Don't be, oh, this guy's got more money now. In 10 years, anybody could have more money, okay? So you have to look at your specific plan. How can you develop? and how can you grow your wealth, and how can you build services and make yourself super important that people cannot ignore you. So if you have a high income skill such as marketing or coding or anything within marketing specific like SEO, copywriting, PR, you're doing something specific that is like businesses will pay for it, right? If you get good at that, there's nothing that can happen that can take that away from you. Let's say like I'm building Prodamera. That's a software company, right? And we just launched because we wanted to launch, and now we're gonna like get users and test it and improve it over time. We're not doing like a huge launch of like, oh, we're selling. No. We're getting users over time. We're gonna, improve the offer, improve the product, make it really good for the customer, and then just keep growing steadily, right? That's the plan. But here's the thing: Prodamera is a software company, and my software company, people say businesses fail. This one, I will work my ass off to make sure it succeeds and it serves the customer, because my priority there is to serve the customer, to give them the best customer experience. But let's say that company does not succeed, right? I have a high income skill. I can always go back and do the CMO work, and I can always adapt in business using the skills that I have. So if you're in your early 20s, you're invest in yourself, number one, get skills that you can offer to businesses. And once you're at a six-figure income, you can make like a $250,000, 300 grand, doing any sort of fractional C-suite offer. You get to that level, you can build any kind of business you want, and you have the capital to do it as well. So that's sort of my pitch to people that are listening. If they're thinking about starting a business, the easiest thing to start is something with a skill, because not only is it immediate cash flow and it's predictable, but also it gives you a foundation. You asked, how do you determine if there's sustainable growth? Is there a foundation? When it comes to businesses, you got to have the foundation. Do you own the customer data? Can you sell more? Are you tapping into the market properly? But if you're a business owner who's running a consulting business, your question is, do you have anything to fall back on? Where's your foundation? Where's your skill? What are you offering? Or did you get lucky? Because if you only got lucky, as I said, you're going to get burnt. So that's basically how it works.
Okay, now you've mentioned the skills, and would you say, why would you say it's more important to show the qualification that you have, or to have the skills within you, to know that you have the skills, you've grown them, you've maybe took a few coding courses, you spend a lot of time on YouTube developing those skills, or that you have the qualification for that? What did you say?
Well, first of all, without a doubt, your formal qualifications depend on the field. If you want to be a lawyer, your qualifications, your college degree really matters. You can't practice without it, and you have even more requirements as a lawyer. As an accountant, CPA, same thing. However, when it comes to marketing and business, if you went to, like I tell people, if you went to business school, and I ask, because I went to business school, I have a bachelor's in marketing, I got an MBA in international management. So I went to school for marketing, for business. But if that's all I did, I would not consider myself a business person, because I'm not in business. I'm studying business. That's very different. So if you're only in business school, you're going to lose. You cannot, unless you want to get a job at like a consulting company and be an employee, but you're not a business owner. You're just somebody who works in a business, and most people work in a business. So I don't think you're really a businessman or a businesswoman. So in that regard, I would say your formal education could be important. You can meet some people that are top notch there. But by and large, if you're in marketing, you do not need a college degree. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to ask about it. I was never asked. I felt like I wasted my money because nobody ever asked me about the college degree. Here's what they care about. Okay. They care about, if I hire you, I don't care even like the skills you have. I care about, am I going to get the result that you're telling me that I might get? That's what I care about. So can you demonstrate to the person sitting next to you, can you demonstrate to them that your ability to make the money is real, to get them to take a gamble on you, right? Because every hire is a gamble, right? But people don't care. I also don't care. I don't think, and again, I went to college, I have 2 college degrees. It doesn't matter. Like, it can be a great asset, like when you want to like write academic papers, stuff like that. But in my experience, specifically when it comes to copywriting, because that was my first skill that I used to leverage and build my career, is copywriting. So if you're a copywriter, my time in college significantly hurt me. And this is going to be controversial, but what happens is when you're in college, you write for somebody who is paid to read your work. Your professor is paid to read your essay. Okay. So number one, that person is paid to read your essay. And number two, that person probably is not a business owner. Okay. And it's probably not going to be your customer. So now you have basically you're losing on every single front. The customer is not being paid to read your article or copy, and the customer doesn't care about you. The customer cares about themselves. Your professor, in theory, cares about you, and many times in practice as well. This is not to say that you're not going to learn in college. There's plenty of professors that I had that were top notch, but I'm talking about like you're building a skill, okay? You need to know what that skill entails. If you're a copywriter and you start writing academically, oh, that's bad, man. Like that's the easiest way to spot terrible copy is somebody just trying to like be confusing and using like words that nobody else uses. You know how we do it? We basically measure it. There's a Flesch Kincaid scale. It basically measures how readable is the copy. And the lower the grade level, the better the copy when it comes to readability. So if you're writing on a graduate level, which most of my peers do, if you went to college, you're trained to write in these great sentences, great sounding, like at a point you start sounding like Churchill, like you start sounding like this, like speaker, right? And at that point, it looks good, it feels good, but nobody's reading that, okay? So what happens is you just wrote terrible copy. The copy needs to be simple and easy to understand, and it needs to flow. So when you say, and by the way, just what do you think the best grade level is to write on? Like the general consensus in the copywriting world, in which grade in school do people have to understand your copy for it to be like top notch and consumer level copy? What do you think?
Isn't that final grade 12 in South Africa? It's called grade 12. What do you say? What is it? Is it
Grade
supposed to be wrote lower?
You have to write grade 6 copy. So that means that your wording needs to be so simple that a kid in grade 6 can understand it. And that's not because people are stupid. People are not stupid. They can read your grade 12 copy. It's just that you're already taking time out of their day. So they're giving you their time. They don't want to go through the effort of reading. It's still much easier for you to like read something at grade 6 than grade 12. So the difference between grade 6 and grade 12 is not the terms that you use. It's the general structure of the sentences and how the sentences flow. So basically, what you have to do is take a very complex concept that is super complex and confusing, and you make it so simple that everybody understands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so grade 5, grade 6, you can get away with grade 7, grade 8 when it comes to content. Grade 6 is considered consumer level copy. So in general, we have to be mindful of what something is good for. Now, if I write grade 6 copy in my college essay, dude, I'm out of, like, they're going to kick me out. Okay. So they're going to think I'm stupid, right? So you have to understand who you're writing for. That's what's at the crux of this dilemma, how you write. It's who are you writing for? If the professor's reading, that professor obviously has a vested interest. That professor's getting paid to read that text, and they care about you, right? So the customer doesn't care. They care about what's in it for me. So you have to really communicate that properly to people where people understand immediately the benefits. You remove objections, okay? And you write powerful copy that is super simple, flows, and gets to the call to action, gets people to buy, right? So I don't look at the copy and say, oh, this is good copy because I like it. Yeah, I can recognize if the best practices are being followed or not, but good copy is the copy that sells. That's really the best copy. So, but in short, you don't need a college degree. It's great to have it because you can use it. And by the way, in some specific cases, you want to be able to use lawyer talk. So like if you went to college and used a lot of complex sentences, sometimes you want to sound confusing. But by and large, consumer level copy cannot sound confusing. So, yep.
Okay, and then you've mentioned that you've worked with AI a lot. Is it also with the copywriting? How do you leverage AI in your business then?
AI can replace certain content writers for certain levels of content. It can be used to create a lot of different content pieces very quickly. It's never going to beat a great content writer. So if you find topics that have that don't have great content on it written by humans, you can rank very easily. But the moment that that content gets replaced, or somebody wrote a long piece, okay, and it's really good and it's written by a human, now the AI content has no chance. So we have to understand that AI, first of all, it's not going to replace, again, it replaces in the first stage. You can rank initially if there's no human. But at some point, somebody's going to write an article, and you got to hire some dude to write the article and say, okay, you're not hiring the robot. You're going to get somebody to write this as a human, and if it's top-notch content, it's going to outrank the AI, right? That doesn't mean we should not be using AI. You can still use AI, and the way we use it, well, a couple of things. Generally, AI is used for a lot of these content pieces to like generate scripts and stuff like that. For me, I think that what's important is to build a CMO co-pilot, meaning I want businesses that cannot afford to pay me or another CMO to have access to AI that will give them general advice, generally correct advice, but tailored to their business without paying top dollar, right? And that means we have to collect the data a certain way, and that's what we're doing. So we're developing a product that will very soon be able to help companies that don't have a CMO, help them grow and give them pointers what to do, right? Besides, you can write content fine, you can write press releases. When it comes to press release, it's really good. It really depends on what we're writing. Sales copy, I'm generally skeptical because as a copywriter, previously, I have no interest right now. I would love to automate copywriting. It's much more difficult than sales copy because according to AI, it does not understand human emotions properly. So, and when it comes to human emotions, you can read all the books, but there are certain people that are better at it than other people. So, and AI is terrible at it. So that's kind of like the way it goes. But yeah, we're doing the best we can to train it as much as possible. But when it comes to CMO, Copilot, we want people to get access to CMO services, and then existing CMOs like myself, because I'm always going to be in the industry, right? I'm not one of these guys that like, yeah, I'll have a course on marketing, but once I have a course on marketing, I'm not going to like say I'm making my money from a course on marketing, right? I'm in the industry and I don't need to have the course, but of course, why wouldn't I productize my skill set, right? So the point of Prodamera really is to serve business owners, to help them get a direction for their business, and then serve CMOs who want to get better ideas. So for me, it helps because I can talk to it. Hey, what do you think about this, right? We have this dilemma, right? We want to start a new strategy. What are the downsides? I have some of them in my head right now as a strategy person, but it helps me. It gives me more context to improve my thinking. So in the future, you're going to have people not being replaced by AI. You're going to have people that either work with AI or are significantly worse than people that work with AI. So if you have a lawyer that works with AI in 10 years, probably a better lawyer, right? But is the lawyer going to go away because of AI? Highly doubt it. Doctors, lawyers, CMOs, even content writers, I think it's going to bounce back for them. We do try to automate a lot of that, but in reality, when it comes to content, it's just like a podcast, right? Do you want to sit down and listen to two AI robots talking to each other? No. You want to hear humans talking, right? So when it comes to content, it's very difficult, right? Unless it's just like informational content, then it's a little bit different, right? But in short, my take on AI is we're just getting started. You can get in now. A lot of companies will fail. I'm in it to build a product that serves my target audience. And over time, it's going to be improved. And I want a smooth user experience because currently we have a lot of non-marketers making marketing related AI. And it's really frustrating because once you start using these platforms, you're like, who wrote this? Who created this? Like, this is not properly trained. So as a CMO, I can train Preston, our AI chatbot, to think like a CMO, right? And as a content writer can train it to write better content, right? But ultimately, it's here to supplement us, to make us better. It's not here to replace people. Of course, some people will be like actually replaced. Don't get me wrong. But by and large, it's going to supplement what we do now, and especially in intellectual roles like, well, anything basically from like lawyers, anything that requires a high level of cognitive ability is still going to be done by humans with huge help from AI. And we're probably going to see the highest rise in productivity ever. So if you have countries that are like demographically in decline right now, the productivity rates just might make up for that. So I think productivity is going to drastically increase, and it's going to change our lives for the better for the most part.
And then, how did you determine your kind of market is going to be software companies, software development companies? How did you determine that? How did you say, okay, this is the ones I'm going to target? Or did
Sure.
it just come naturally? What was your approach?
So the reason why I usually look for software companies because so I talked about a restaurant initially. So how it's
Mm,
difficult to scale. You're not going to scale a restaurant quickly and easily. And even when you do, people will think you have money, but you probably don't because you're going to have all these investments and debts and stuff like that. And you have people that have like restaurant chains, and that might work, but usually it's very difficult to scale, right?
mm,
You have to do that business only if you love that business, right? That's one of those businesses. If you love it, you can do it. If you don't love it, you can't do it. However, software companies are on the completely other end because software companies are super easy to scale because the margins are 100%. Like, what is the cost of a digital product to manufacture? You build it once, it exists, you pay maintenance, right? So I can quickly, so it was a determination of where am I most useful? Like, if I am, you will not hire a lawyer to make you eggs in the morning because the lawyer's going to be like, it's $100 because I'm a lawyer, but it's just eggs. So you have to find the right fit for your services. So you can't provide stupid services. And in my opinion, a stupid service is something that is not going to benefit anybody. So you have to benefit your customer. So how can I make the most money for the customer? Well, depends on the business model. So info products, you have a course. I can help you. EdTech. I love EdTech, right? Software as a service, very quick to scale. I can help you in software as a service, right? Because I know that it takes one good campaign and you're basically boosted your marketing efforts heavily. You can go from a
mm,
million to 2 million, right? Very quickly, right? You can't do that with traditional businesses. So I basically look at where's the biggest upside and where can I do essentially where can I make the most impact in the quickest time frame where they clearly understand I know what I'm doing. Because in software, if you suck, it fails. If you're really good, it goes off, right? So once it goes up, they can quickly understand that you are knowledgeable. You're the expert. And then we can talk about other things. Here's a new campaign. Let's take on more risk, right? Because now they trust you, right? So you can actually be more creative, right? But for me, it was just a practical approach. I'm a conservative business owner. As you can see, I want multiple income streams. I want to build a new business, not to quit my job or quit my business. I want to build a company sustainably, slowly. Let's develop. Let's get more customers. Let's be leveraged, right? That's my approach. So software for me plays into that because software is, for me, the biggest upside, lowest risk, and the most creative freedom, really. So
Okay, so with software development, you can actually do anything with that. You can, in any business, you could, because the whole world, the whole industry is going into the technological phase, the what they call it, the fourth industrial revolution, that kind of thing. And with the software, then you can actually kind of cover every business model out there that there is. Is that correct? Do you think that it maybe also played a role in your decision with it?
yeah, it's essentially a business model, not an industry. I
Mm,
love SaaS because it's basically software that you get paid for forever, as long as the customer stays with the company. So my job is not just to get them through the door; it's to also make sure that they actually, once they buy, the
they
retention is
stay
high.
there.
So we have an
Mm,
entire process of maximizing retention because people think if it's a good product, people will stay. They won't. They will leave. You have to have a process in place to make sure customers are
mm,
not incentivized to cancel. I've seen companies with great products where people cancel like 20% churn rates. I'm like, what is happening? I look at the back end and it's like you literally optimize this to look nice. The cancellation process is beautiful. I want to cancel right now because it's so beautiful, right? So, yeah, so you have to really, it's a business model and I think it's the best one. It's recurring
mm,
revenue. It's everybody wants recurring revenue and it makes things more accessible for people. If a course is
mm,
$2,000, but you're saying it's $50 a month, that's way better for most people. So,
mm. Okay, and then how important is it to establish good relationships with people, to establish good connections, especially in your industry now?
so it's definitely important in a sense that once you're knowledgeable, well, two things. Number one is referrals. People talk about referrals. Sure. So people might refer new business to you, but don't, yeah, you can't underestimate the compounding effect of relationships. So, for example, one of the companies I used to work for, actually the company that offered one of the equity deals, that company, I met a lot of people there, and those people still have businesses. And I talked to a guy that I work with, and now we say, hey, I have this idea. I work with you. I liked what you did. Let's partner up. Boom, that opens up, right? So now you have a situation of like a potential business collaboration. So you want to be known in your industry, and people have to recognize not just that they know you, but you have to have a solid reputation of doing proper work, being ethical, right? So people appreciate other people that are ethical, right? And they'll want to work with you. So the way I see it is, it's not just a referral, a new business. It's very indirect. It's very like, you need something and somebody can solve that for you. Boom. This guy knows this guy. It can be solved. So for me, it's been very important. And of course, I've gotten referrals, but for me, the referral is like, you don't count on it. So it doesn't matter. But connecting with people is priceless in business. That's basically the way I see it. So you have to, like, if you show up every day, you do great work, people will notice that. They will notice that. So.
Okay, this is kind of a question that I would say almost ask some of my guests is, how do you stay on top of it every day? How do you keep continuing every day, even when there are bad days, days that you don't want to stay up, days that things just don't go for you? How do you keep continuing with that?
So
I've seen you pop something here in the chat.
yeah, I'm just letting you know that
you
I
have to
give you
leave.
5 minutes and I want to interrupt you. Yeah.
Okay, no. Let's stop the recording. No,
No.
perfect.
That's a great question. So I would love to answer
Okay.
the question, right? So there's a DNA component to this that people don't want to talk about. Business owners, first of all, there are people that are born with certain characteristics and traits, right? You have people that are delusional, okay? And that's good. If you want to be in business and you're building like a product, you have to be just a little bit delusional, because why would that business succeed? There's no good reason for that to succeed. Like, statistically, it's going to fail. So you have to have some huge vision. You have to be a dreamer, right? But then you have to be a dreamer, but then also you have to actually put in the work and be in the moment. So you have to be stoic. It's a very nice combo between people that start things. Dreamers start things, but dreamers don't finish things, right? But then dreamers who understand the stoic principles and say, okay, I'm in the moment, right? So let's focus on what I have to do now, not we'll build like the next Facebook or whatever, right? Hold on. You have a task now. Can you focus on it? If you can't focus, forget about your business. So people live these lives where they have these ambitions and motivations, but it's just a dream because they don't have the discipline to wake up and sit down and focus. So if you can sit down and focus and get the job done, over time, even if you're doing a little bit every day, it's going to compound. It's kind of like an index fund. You put in $100 every month. Over time, you're going to retire with a lot of money, right? Even at like 9% return, right? So you have to understand that what you do in your routines matters. It's not about like I have a big plan. How do you spend your day? Because if your day consists of small things that you're not really actually getting stuff done, then now most of your life is shit, because now you're not getting the work done. And what that means is your life is not your goal. It's not your dream. Oh, I have the dream, or like your college degree. Your life is what you do every day. So the smallest things you do, the menial tasks and how you do them really matters, because if you do them poorly because, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's just an email. If that's how you approach it, then everything you do will suck because you're setting a standard that something sucks. So when it comes to getting it done every day, you have to start with the basics. Why am I not getting it done every day, right? Is it that I have a lack of focus? Maybe I should meditate, work out. Maybe you should not eat in the morning. Well, this is not medical advice, by the way. I should probably preface that. So maybe you should like get coffee and meditate and just fast, intermittent fasting, right? So you have to find your thing that works for you to build a good daily routine, and then you can optimize from there, because you can have the best business idea in the world. There's going to be no execution because you're just a dreamer. You want to dream, and you can't sit down and focus and get things done consistently. That's the difference. It's not the idea. I'm not scared somebody's going to come in and take the idea that I have. Nobody cares about the idea. Can I execute properly and then adapt accordingly in the market? That's what determines my success as a business. So for me, it's the long game. And if you can have that plan, write the vision board, write it. You have a dream of doing that, right? You want to have like a media company, doesn't matter, right? Write it down. What does the coffee feel like in the morning if you're living in, I don't know, Paris or whatever your dream city is, right? What does the coffee feel like? Envision it, put a vision board, write it down, and then forget about it. Don't spend every day thinking about like, oh, you know what? It's the vision. No. You wrote down the vision. You know what it is. Don't spend any more time now revising it and thinking about it and blah, blah. You have the vision. You have the goal. You can revise it later. Maybe you're going to come across something and change the plan. That's perfectly fine. Pivoting is fine. But you have to move somewhere, right? And you have to have a direction to move in. It doesn't have to be the perfect spot that you're going to. It needs to be the right direction. And then you can sort of, once you start a business, you realize, oh, this doesn't work. This does work. You change the product, change it. It doesn't matter. You're going to pivot. You're going to adapt. But you have to start moving in the right direction and compounding those routines of every day. So the idea is if you sit down and you can't do work, it's only because you don't have the focus. So the way I see it is you got to fix the focus first, right? And focus can be ADHD, which if it's not controlled, very bad. But if you do have a lot of energy, like you're hyperactive, but you can streamline that and focus, you're just unbeatable. It's impossible because most people are low energy. Most people are like, again, there's a component that you are born with. There's some of that, right? But there's also habits. Do you exercise? What do you eat? Do you have any psychological issues, right? So there's a lot of things that happen, but a lot of it is energy. And when you're born, initially, so it's not even like when you're like 18 or 20 years old. When you're born, a lot of it has been written down in your code. Like how much testosterone were you exposed to in the womb? It's going to determine your life in terms of like, are you likely to die of a heart attack or prostate cancer, or how much energy you're going to have. And it's going to shape a lot of your behaviors as you grow old, right? So it's really important to understand, and we can basically measure that, by the way. So we can actually measure, like you're an adult. Did you get exposed to a lot of testosterone as basically as a baby in the womb, right? So we can measure that. I'm just giving you one example that you had no control over, right? So you can't control for that because you're not in charge of that. What you can do is find out what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, where do you want to go, and how to bridge that gap. That's it. So you have to find out, be honest with yourself. What are you doing? Are you dreaming, right? Do you have the energy? What can you do to improve energy if you don't have it, right? It's okay. Most people don't have the energy. They're basically drinking like 6 cups of coffee a day, right? Fine. They need to find a way to have energy that is sustainable and that allows them to beat their competition. Once they have the energy, if it's too much energy but no focus, no peace of mind, that means your thoughts are controlling you. You're also doomed because you can't actually get the work done, right? So you have to increase the energy, right? And then understand and let the thoughts flow through your head. Like if you start meditating, you will very quickly notice after maybe like a couple of months that the thoughts, they can just like come and go. You can pick and choose the thoughts that come in, right? And that's going to allow you to like understand that not every thought that comes in, you have to act on it, right? So yeah, I would just basically say it depends on the individual, but be honest with yourself. You have to be consistent. You can't just do like, oh, I'll make the product over the weekend. No. It needs to be consistent over time, months, sometimes years of development. And you have to be stoic and you have to understand you don't control everything. And if you don't control something, don't worry about that. Just don't worry about it. Like if you can't control something, don't worry about it. Okay. And if you're risk averse, then find a way to leverage either your schedule or your finances to be less exposed to risk. So in this case, you can have more clients, no problem. So yeah, consistency, clarity, energy, and just getting things done little by little every day, compounding. That's Toyota way. It's just make it slowly, make iterations, and basically over time, you have a good, solid product that people want to buy. So whether it's a service, product, a college degree, doesn't matter what it is, you have to be consistent. You can't just like do these like little boosts of studying or working for the company. You have to actually allow the time to be your friend. So you learn a language 20 minutes a day, an hour a day. Over time, it's going to compound, and now time is your friend. You want the time to be your friend, not your enemy. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, let me stop the recording here. You are in a hurry, so I'm going to say thank